Hey there, Mr. Redder here. Welcome back to another episode of r/entitled People Stories. Our first story we'll be reading today. No tip on a $300 bill. Reason? Because they're a non-profit. After that, am I the jerk for telling my boyfriend's friends I make twice what he does? And after that, am I the jerk for telling my retired military father what I said? Now for every thumbs up this video gets, one Karen has to leave a tip. No worries, I've got some spare change in my purse. So please smash that like button and subscribe and turn on notifications for new stories from Reddit every single day. No tip on a $300 bill. Reason? Because they're a non-profit. I'm sitting here on my break and I just want to know if this is actually a thing because I'm kind of salty. I work at a small poke bowl / sushi place that's similar to Chipotle in that it's a prep and go. Dine in is optional. The bowls do take quite a bit of time though since customers build their own. Same thing if they want sushi rolls. Anyway, it's 12:30ish and this group of around 20 comes in. I'm thinking, wow, since it's our usual lunch rush, plus this massive group, and it was a little overwhelming to say the least. This lady says she's going to pay me for her whole group and it takes maybe 30 minutes to get through everyone. While ringing her up, I ask what the group is about and she says it's some sort of summer camp. The total came out to just over $300. And when I flip to the tip screen, she just looks at me and goes, "Sorry, I'm not allowed to tip since we're a non-profit organization. You guys did a great job though." It was a little disappointing to run around taking and making orders for everyone just to be told they couldn't tip because they were a non-profit. They even said they'd probably be coming back for the duration of their camp, which I'm not looking forward to if it's going to be all this stress and no reward. So tell me, is this some kind of rule for company budgeting? Am I the jerk or are they? Edit. To clarify, this is not a typical dine-in restaurant, and I included this earlier because I know there's a difference when it comes to expecting tips. I don't have an issue with regular customers not tipping, although it is appreciated and I try to make conversation and make sure that they're taken care of to earn it. I'm annoyed that a company-funded party of 20 came in, assuming this is a larger nonprofit with money, and left nothing. I was also wondering if my annoyance was justified or if she was telling the truth about not being allowed to. To be honest though, I would have been happy with $10. Also, I'm a girl, since some of the people in the comments think I'm a guy. I work for a nonprofit. We are allowed to tip. I've done a fair share of delivery work. It's pretty normal for people in some kind of secretarial position to claim that they don't have authority to provide a tip. I tend to view this as a BS excuse, of course. They're clearly allowed to pay for the incurred expense, and the tip should be viewed as part of the expense. I'm sure there are genuinely some bosses and higher-ups that will notice and kick up a fuss that a signer included a basic tip, but it happens far too commonly for that to be the majority case in my opinion. I do notice that a lot of people who are in positions that are generally viewed as socially good or altruistic, whether that's charity work, nurses, teachers, etc., are very bad tippers or they don't tip at all. And there's a lot of entitlement and a sense that they don't have to because everyone knows they're good people already. I haven't done much serving work, but I'm reminded of how many server friends I've known that don't like serving church groups for that same reason. And my main job now is teaching, and I definitely notice a big self-righteous and smug note in a sizable number of coworkers. Of course, usually whenever I bring this up on Reddit, I get downvoted because how dare you badmouth these people, they're our heroes, etc. I used to work with city government. We couldn't get reimbursed for more than 10% tip. That was 15 years ago. It probably hasn't changed. I work for a nonprofit now. We can tip, just within reason, but I suppose her specific organization could set up rules for that sort of purchase. When I was a server many moons ago, I had the exact same situation. I saw the absence of gratuity when cleaning the table and found the host on our way out. She stated the exact same thing as did your guests. My reply in front of the group was, "You may be nonprofit, but I'm certainly not. Do you not pay your employees who provide a service to you?" She turned as red as the lobster her friend ate, and I managed $20 out of the cheap jerk. Not nearly an appropriate gratuity, but the satisfaction was priceless. Do you leave tips? And if so, how much do you usually leave? Please let us know. Am I the jerk for telling my boyfriend's friends that I make twice what he does? I'm in a relationship with a guy who also works in tech. He makes $68,000 a year and I make $130,000. I'm a mechanical engineer at a robotics startup. He works at a more stable job doing programming at a large company. He brought me to meet his friends at a party and they asked me about myself. His friends mostly work in tech too, and they talked about themselves in terms of their jobs. I told them I'm a hiker, I do archery, I love road trips and camping and riding dirt bikes, etc. Basically talking about my hobbies because work is just a way to get paid to do the crap I love. It's not how I define myself, and it doesn't come to mind when someone wants me to tell them about myself. One of his friends asked me about work, and I said, "Oh gosh, I don't want to talk about work at a party. Spent my whole day sweating in 95-degree heat trying to replace this busted motor just to find the replacement part was also broken." I wasn't lying or trying to downplay that I have a good job. That really is how I spent my day, and I wasn't in the mood to talk shop at a party. Some other conversations came up casually that probably also made me seem poorer. Like me saying that car dealership repairs were a ripoff, and telling my boyfriend that my childhood neighbor's trailer caught on fire and I was gonna go visit and help her out. I wasn't doing it on purpose, I was literally just talking about my life, but I guess I gave the impression that I was poorer. It got later into the night and everyone was drinking, and some of his friends, not close ones though, were making jokes about me being a gold digger and being ready to jump to a rich guy. Honestly, they don't even know me, and they seemed to just assume that I was a gold digger. He didn't say anything. I felt hurt that he didn't say anything. I got irritated with his friends and I asked, "Now, why the heck would you say that when I make twice what he does?" His friends went quiet for a second and I continued saying, "There ain't no gold to dig here. Not with him or anyone at this party. So do y'all think I'm cheap or do y'all think I'm stupid?" My boyfriend wanted to leave the party shortly after, and he was pretty upset with me for telling everyone I make twice what he does. I said I would have held my tongue if he had checked his friends himself, but he didn't say anything, so I wasn't about to let them talk to me like that. He said it was humiliating, and now everyone thinks I'm a jerk. And I said, "At least they know I'm a rich jerk." He was angry I embarrassed him when I spoke up. I was angry I had to say anything at all, because his friends were talking crap, so it should be on him to check them. Stuff is still tense. Am I the jerk for explaining why I'm not a gold digger? Not the jerk. His friends sound like those dudes that whine that they can't get girlfriends, think that they deserve supermodels, but then are complete jerks. Boyfriend got his ego bruised that you let it be known you out-earn him. Am I the jerk for telling my retired military father what I said? I'm 32, male, and my family is what I would consider generational military. We have ancestors that fought in World War I and beyond. I grew up being moved from place to place, going long stretches without seeing my father, and I hated it. Anytime I'd say I missed my dad or I wished I could see him more, I was quickly told to be quiet and be proud of my dad for being a hero. I once was upset we had to move because I was finally making friends and was told to not be selfish. I'm one of 4 kids. My brother and sisters all enlisted at 18. I chose not to, and while I'm not the only person in my extended family to do so, I knew it was disappointing. Originally, I chose not to enlist just because I didn't want to be in the military. However, over time, after learning more about it, I find the concept just wrong. I've never told my family this. I went to college, got my dream job, and eventually married my wife. We have 2 beautiful daughters. Because of our own upbringing, I do my best to be at every recital, school concert, soccer game, etc. I help my eldest with her homework, have special days with each of them separately, and then as family. Recently, I had the opportunity for a promotion that would require traveling 2 weeks out of the month. My wife and I briefly considered it before deciding that it just wasn't worth it in the long run. We do good financially, and the extra money wouldn't be worth her raising our kids alone half the month and me missing out on so much. The promotion came up during a family party. My father is now retired and he was there. When he heard me mention it, he asked why I would want to pass it up. I said I don't want to miss out on my girls' childhoods and have them feel like I abandoned them. My dad's chest puffed out and he said I was attacking him. I was confused and he said I had never been quiet about being unhappy as a military kid. He went on a rant about him not being an absent dad. I was an ungrateful brat, not patriotic, telling me to move to Canada if I didn't like it here. I said I don't want to do that. I just hated growing up without a physically present father. He said he was fighting for our country. I said that was a choice and I'm allowed to not agree with it. My wife, kids, and I left shortly after. My wife agrees with my point, but said I was a jerk for wording my reasons for not taking the promotion like I did. Am I the jerk? Not the jerk. Your dad's insecure, childish response says it all. Not the jerk. Any decent dad would have said, I know me being gone so much caused you a lot of pain and it makes me sad. I made the best decision I could about my career and my responsibility, but I am aware that it had some major drawbacks. I'm glad you get to be a father who gets to be around for your kids since it's important to you. Not the jerk. I'm sorry your childhood was sacrificed for his false beliefs. I can see why your dad believes what he does if he's generational military. He was spoon-fed the patriotism stuff from birth. But don't make that your problem. You do you and raise your family the way you like. Good for you. Not the jerk. You are being a great father by putting your kids' lives first. Being present in their upbringing will forever be better than any job promotion. Your father got defensive because he knew you were right. Don't listen to him. You're doing the right thing. There's nothing wrong with wanting to put your kids first, and you are not an ungrateful brat. It's not your fault he chose war over his son. Not the jerk. Gosh, I can't stand military guys. They never make good fathers or husbands, and they wonder why their wives don't stick around. These guys expect to be treated like royalty, when the truth is, we don't need them at all. This is why I never thank anyone for their service. It's like, oh, you decided to play soldier so you can live off my tax dollars? And you expect me to worship the ground you walk on? No thanks, Sarge. I learned the hard way to never date military guys. It's a huge red flag that he has zero intelligence and isn't going anywhere in life. If you really want to fight for us, stand up for those of us who are legit ostracized like myself. Go to rally marches and demonstrations. Donate money to get the right people elected who will make a difference in this broken system we live in. Plain soldier and being a bad person like most of them do won't solve a thing. Hey Reddit boy, weren't you in the army? What do you think of that last commenter? No comment, Karen. No comment. Am I the jerk for expecting my girlfriend to share her food before it gets cold? I know this may seem like a dumb argument to ask about, but I am genuinely curious if I am actually the jerk about this. My girlfriend, May, who's 22, and I, 22, have been dating for 2 years now. I just want to start off by saying my girlfriend is very small and tends to not eat very big portions. I have rarely ever seen her complete a meal by herself, maybe on 1 or 2 occasions out of the 2 years and thousands of meals we've had together. She isn't per se selfish with her food, but she doesn't like to share with me all the time, which I just kind of find rather annoying considering she does not finish all of her food. For example, if we're out to eat, usually I will reach my hand over and try to sample a bite while her food is hot and fresh because I want to taste. She will sometimes smack my hand away and tell me to wait. Then an argument always ensues because she thinks I should give her the courtesy of at least trying to finish her meal before I touch it, which is annoying to me because I know she won't finish it and she knows I like my food scalding hot. I usually won't even eat if it's room temperature. The reason I'm asking if I'm the jerk here is that this weekend we went to a fair in our town and she got a basket of 3 fried Oreos. And when she brought it over, I took one and she got really upset saying, "You know I wait for these all year round and I wanted to eat all of them," which was probably a lie, but she seemed kind of upset for the rest of the night about it. I'm pretty sure I'm not the jerk, but I wanted to ask for strangers' opinions so I can settle this debate with her once and for all. Am I the jerk? Edit. Okay, reading all of these comments has made me realize that I'm not only the jerk, but I am the biggest jerk in the world. Growing up, I was very poor and was always taught to scarf my food down while it was good, aka while it was hot. I guess that translated into me being an adult, and I'm now wreaking havoc on the person I love the most. I thought by eating her food and showing her it was enjoyable would help her recovery, and through comments from all of you, I realized that I was severely wrong. I don't even know how I'm going to apologize to her, but I'm going to start by not taking her food and working on my issues. I'm going to take her to the fair and buy her all the fried Oreos she wants. Thank you all for making me realize just how stupid I was being. It's scary to even think that had I not made what I thought was a silly post over a small debate, I would have kept up my behavior without even knowing until it was too late. Update. We talked. I don't want to go in depth because I don't want to expose a private conversation, but I apologized and we had a long conversation. She said she was only willing to continue if I go to therapy, which I am. She appreciated the apology, and now I'm going to take her out for dinner tonight. You're the jerk, because you didn't even ask. What on earth? I also never finish my meals, but my husband waits for me to offer, or he asks. Common courtesy. You also already know this bothers her, so why do you keep doing it? You're the jerk. All I could hear when I read this was, Joey doesn't share food. I'm the same. It's really rude to just grab at someone's plate, especially when you know full well she doesn't want you to. Why do you think your desire for her food outweighs what she wants? The constant justifications from the OP indicate that he clearly doesn't think he's done anything wrong and is not learning anything from this thread, which has been "you're the jerk" all the way. She knows I like my food scalding hot, except it's not your food, is it? No, it's not. Leave her alone. You sound like a toddler or a golden retriever that was given the gift of speech. You are not entitled to her food, and definitely not on your own terms, you weirdo. You're the jerk. You're the jerk. Nobody cares that you like your food scalding hot. You can heat up her leftovers when she's done eating. The absolute nerve to eat off another person's plate even after being told no. Are you human or are you a hyena? Not the jerk. My husband grabs food off my plate all the time. I couldn't care less. Why? Because A, he knows I'm done with it and not planning to eat it anymore. And B, he's the one who pays for it. My heart goes out to you younger guys around my son's age. He's had several girlfriends and they always just seem so mean. It's like they have a chip on their shoulder about everything. Maybe they were spoiled growing up. I ask him if he's attracted to that kind of an attitude, and he tells me, "No, Mom, but they're all like that now." Here's my advice to you, the same thing I tell my son. Stop trying to force a relationship with someone who isn't sweet. Just be patient, and one day the Lord will bring her into your life, and you'll have a sweet girlfriend who won't flip out on you for eating her leftovers. If you tried taking anything off my plate, Reddit boy, you'd need some new fingers. Dealing with an entitled neighbor. Just flipping through a few stories and reading about entitled drivers getting their just desserts. This made me think back to my days as a paramedic. We got a call to a house where there was a bariatric patient who had fallen. The patient was morbidly obese and weighed around 30 stone, 420 pounds. This story isn't really about them though. There are many reasons people get to this size, and I've never judged, only helped. No, the problem here was a really arrogant neighbor we had come across before, and boy was this chap a judgmental moron. Our patient had a car and had a disabled parking permit. They also had a council-designated disabled parking spot outside their home, which the neighbor kept parking in. There had been a number of letters from the council regarding this, and a number of parking fines just served to annoy this chap even more. On the day of this story, I took the call that the patient had fallen and we went to the house. Sure enough, the neighbor was not only parked in the disabled spot, but had parked his second car blocking access to the patient's driveway. I assessed the patient and suspected they had a broken hip, so needed to go in. I sent my colleague around to the neighbor to ask them to move the cars, and when they came back, I was told the neighbor had just told my colleague to do one. No problem. Time to get the message home. I radioed through to our control center and asked for the fire service and police. We needed the fire service to help lift the guy and the police to do a little parking control. The fire station were the first to arrive, and I spoke to the crew commander to let them know what the situation was. A fireman went to the house to ask the neighbor to move the car and was told the same thing as my colleague. The message was relayed back, and the watch commander just asked me one question. Is the patient's life at risk? I knew exactly where this was going, and it was time our thoughtless neighbor got the message. My answer was, yes, there's equipment I need to get into the house, and the driveway is blocked, preventing me from doing so. The watch commander told the fire truck driver to move those vehicles. It was really satisfying to see both vehicles being pushed down the road by the fire service, and the look on the neighbor's face as he came out spitting and screaming was well worth seeing. His complaints to the police fell on deaf ears. They were well aware of his history of obstruction, and my clinical assessment that the patient's life was in danger was more than enough justification for the vehicles to be moved. I doubt it made our patient's life any easier, and sadly they passed a few months later without leaving the hospital, but it really did bring a smile to their face as we wheeled them out. Am I the jerk for laughing in my stepmom's face and then kicking my dad out? I'm 21, male. My parents weren't ready for kids when they had me. My uncle and aunt, my uncle is my grandma's youngest brother on my dad's side, wanted kids, so me coming along was pretty much perfect for them. My uncle and aunt are farmers, and I live and work on the farm with them and my girlfriend. My mom and dad used to visit, but stopped when I was around 8 because my dad met his now wife, and my mom started dating her boyfriend, and I haven't seen them since until my 21st birthday, and that was the last time I saw my dad until today. I don't actually call my dad, Dad. I call Uncle Dad, or Pop, and my aunt, Mom. I just wrote it that way I did so it wouldn't get confusing, and so I could stay under the character limit. My aunt, stepmom, and stepsister, who's 13, came over today. I was in the stable with my horse. I was brushing her and talking to her. My stepmom brought my stepsister to the stable and pet some of the other horses. After a bit, my stepmom pulled me aside and asked me to stop talking to my horse because she thought only freaks talked to animals and she didn't want my stepsister to take after me. I laughed in her face at that, then realized she was serious. I told her I wasn't going to stop talking to my horse. After my girlfriend, that horse is my best friend and I like to talk to her. She got mad and grabbed my stepsister and stormed away. A little later, I was telling my girlfriend about what my stepmom said and my dad walked over. He started to scold me for disrespecting his wife. I said, I only said I wouldn't stop talking to my horse. What's the big deal? And he said, you laughed in her face. I know your aunt and uncle didn't raise you properly. That upset me, and my girlfriend could see it in my face. She tried to de-escalate, but my dad kept talking over her. That's when I snapped. I said, you weren't there for 13 years. You were barely around to begin with. You know nothing about my lifestyle and what me being raised properly looks like. At this point, my aunt, uncle, stepmom, and stepsister heard the commotion and came out. My dad said, well, you still disrespected my wife. And I said, she called me a freak, and I'm the one being disrespectful? He said, almost yelling, you have to respect your elders. At this point, I was done arguing, so I told him to leave. He tried to argue, but all he got out was, before I cut him off and said, leaving. He was getting really mad, but my uncle came to my defense and they eventually left. But my stepmom screamed that I was a jerk before they left. Am I the jerk for laughing in my stepmom's face, then kicking my dad out? Not the jerk. Your stepmother sounds like an absolutely ridiculous human. It's disappointing that your father defended her. Good for you for standing up for yourself. Am I the jerk for refusing to give up my seat on an airplane? I, 15, female, was flying for the first time to Florida. Due to some childhood issues, I get bad anxiety when being yelled at for something that I can't control. I arrived at the airport, and being a minor flying for the first time, my mom was able to walk me all the way to the gate. She told them I was a minor and that this was my first time flying, so that it would help lessen the anxiety I had of having to be on the plane by myself. When it was finally my turn to board the plane, the flight attendant, to help ease my anxiety, introduced me to the pilots and I was able to see in a little bit. The flight attendant took me to my seat. I made sure to book and pay for a window seat so I can look out the window and also not have to keep getting up whenever anyone had to use the bathroom. There was some girl in my seat and the flight attendant kindly told her that she was in the wrong seat and that she had to sit in the seat that was on her ticket. She was not happy and her boyfriend said I could just sit in the aisle seat. The flight attendant knew why I wanted a window seat and about the anxiety, as my mom told them before I boarded, so the flight attendant told the woman she had to move. I was able to sit in my seat, but once the flight attendant left, they both started losing it on me and commenting about how I ruined their flight. My anxiety was getting really bad. It felt like I couldn't breathe and I wanted to get off the plane. I stood up and walked up towards the front as it was a small plane. The flight attendant asked me what was wrong as I was crying now. I was nervous and scared and didn't say anything. The only thing I said was, I want to get off of the plane. Another flight attendant went over to my original seat to see what had happened, and of course, the couple said nothing happened, but the man behind me who heard them spoke up and told them what had happened. Some man at the front of the plane told me to switch seats since we both had a window seat, and he sat in my seat so that the couple couldn't have the window seat, and I got his window seat. The rest of the flight went okay, besides I was extremely scared of the takeoff and landing and the turbulence. When I told my family, some of them said I should have just sat in the aisle instead of making a big deal, or once I sat down, I shouldn't have gotten up and just ignored their comments. It's not like they got kicked off the flight or anything, but I do feel like I might be the jerk and that I could have handled it a little bit differently. Not the jerk. Kudos to the man behind you for helping you out, and for the kind man who changed seats with you so that you can have a window seat. Your family should be more sympathetic though, knowing about your anxiety. Am I the jerk for not paying for my son's friend's childcare? My husband and I employ a nanny, Poppy, for our 2- and 6-year-old. In her contract, Poppy states that she'll host the occasional playdate whilst on the clock for the same rate, $28 an hour, but only one extra kid at a time and for no more than 3 hours. It also can't be a consistent thing, or she'll require to be paid a separate rate for that kid. We are careful to follow said policy, along with the rest, as we love her and we want to keep her on. Our 6-year-old has a friend, James. He's come over for a few playdates during the school year. He has a single mom that works crazy hours, so a few times this summer we've paid Poppy more to watch all 3 kids. It amounts to $30 an hour, which quickly adds up. But it was worth the investment occasionally so Nanny could focus on the toddler while James and our son played. Recently, James' mom approached us and said that her summer care fell through. She asked if Poppy could watch him 5 days a week for 8 hours a day. We asked, and she said this was a nanny share situation. We'd have to each pay 2/3 of her salary, which rounded up is $20 an hour per family, $800 a week per family. This would be a better deal for us anyway, so we were down. We told James' mom, and she said there was no way she could afford that. We offered to pay $30, leaving her to pay $400 a week. She said at that point it would be a better deal to just stay home. She asked why we can't pay all of it to help her out. We offered alternatives, sending her links to summer programs that care for school-aged kids on a sliding scale. She said that most of them are filled and that the 2 that aren't are also too expensive. It would be an extra $480 a week to do this, and while we can't afford it, it just doesn't seem financially responsible, nor is it our responsibility to pay for this kid's care. We're worried about what this will do in the long run. We ultimately told James' mom no. She started crying and said she doesn't know what to do. She can't bring him to work with her and can't afford care. She said we were being selfish with our money. Are we being jerks? Not the jerk. You're not responsible for paying for someone else's childcare, whether you can afford it or not. 86-cent tip. Now you might be thinking, oh no, that's really bad. Yeah, I would have thought so too, but I want to share why I'm not mad that I got an 86-cent tip. I only was scheduled 1 day this week, and when I went in for my shift, I got a table fairly quickly. It was just a one-top, a little older lady. She kind of reminded me of the iguana assistant from the movie Sing, but not in a bad way. She was one of the sweetest customers I've had in such a long time. Very polite, wasn't rude at all, and was really nice to me in general. Now, my restaurant uses the Presto systems to pay. If you don't know what that is, it's basically a table tablet thing that your table pays on. They can also play games and stuff too. Basically, these things are a real pain, especially for the older crowd. I don't know why they thought this customer base was the best for upgraded payment systems, but whatever. So the lady pays, and she tells me she accidentally forgot to tip, but she wanted to tip me because she really enjoyed my service. Her bill was about $50. Now, I was going to find my manager to pull back her receipt. We need manager's cards for certain things on the computers. But when I walked in the office, the bartender was filling out an incident report. So I backed out slowly and went back to the lady. I couldn't have printed the receipt to sign either because there's no option for that after it's printed after using the Presto. I just figured I would ring in something cheap and she could leave a tip on that. So that's what I did. Rang in something that was like $3. She paid for it and said she was gonna leave 20%. I didn't think about it until I looked at the notification for how much I got tipped. It was only 86 cents. And honestly, I just kind of laughed. I wasn't upset about it. The lady really did try to tip me 20% of her original bill, but it was just a weird situation. It really was the thought that counted, to be honest. Honestly, if it was any other table, I probably would have been upset. Accidents happen. My husband is a doctor. I deserve to be seen now. Come here, you fine people, and listen to the story of another Karen in the emergency room. I worked the day shift today. In Germany, we work 5 8-hour shifts a week and have 2 days off, not like the 12-hour shifts which our friends in the US are pulling. We have a 3-shift system, morning, day, and night. My day shift starts at 11:30 a.m. and ends at 8 p.m. regularly, but I work mostly overtime since lockdown. It was a really cool shift today. I worked with my work wife, my work boyfriend, and other nurses I'm cool with, so yay. Patients were dripping in slowly, nothing major. A broken leg, a bee sting, an allergic reaction, and a dog bite. Normal stuff. But then I felt a disturbance in the force. The room temperature dropped like 5 degrees downwards. All the dogs in a 3-mile radius started howling. Something unholy set foot in the hospital. A monster every service and retail worker fears. The mortal enemy of every manager. A mom bee. A middle-aged, middle to upper-class lady. A Karen with her kid. Like the Sith, there are always 2 of them, a master and a student. I sat at the front desk and did some desk work, scheduling some x-rays and MRIs, handling with some insurance IDs and so on. Clearing throat. "Excuse me?" The battle cry of the Karen. In front of me stood a middle-aged lady, fake pink nails, and clutching the wrist of her kid. The girl pressed a piece of paper on her forehead, probably bumped her head and maybe needed some stitches. Me. "How can I help you?" Karen. "My princess bumped her head. She needs help. She may have a concussion." Me. "How are you feeling, sweetie?" Kid. "I'm fine, but my head hurts." Me, coming around the front counter. "Did she faint?" Karen. No." "Did she throw up?" "No." "Okay, sweetie, can I have a quick look at it?" She showed me her forehead. She had a laceration and probably needed some stitches. I then checked her eyes with a little light. I was sure she had not had a concussion. Me. "Okay, please fill out these forms and the next available doctor will look at your daughter." Karen. "What? My kid needs medical attention now. My husband is a surgeon here, so get going." Me, massaging my nose in a very annoyed way. "Please fill out these forms and sit down and wait, miss. All our doctors are busy with patients right now." Karen. "Don't you listen, boy?" Boy? "Lady, I'm 24 years old." "My husband is a surgeon. He's on good terms with the management, so watch your mouth." Me, looked her dead in the eyes. "Take the forms, fill them out, sit down, and the next doctor will have a look at your daughter's head." She probably noticed that I didn't take her crap. I'm working the ER since I finished nursing school. I developed really thick skin. I got yelled at, spit at, punched, and shoved, and got thrown at with stuff like cans. They waited maybe half an hour until the ER doctor could look at the kid. And what a surprise, no concussion. Just 3 stitches on the forehead. "And, does she have a concussion?" I asked with my best grin when she passed the front desk again. She just huffed and left the ER. And now the best part. Near the end of the shift, a surgeon came into the ER. He asked especially for me and apologized for his wife's behavior. He will tear her a new one when he gets home today. I told the doctor, "No problem. I've seen worse. Just talk to your wife and tell your kid I hope she gets well soon." The kid was quiet the whole time and was a really sweet kiddo. God, I hope she doesn't end up like her mother. I hope the Karens go out with the baby boomers like the dinosaurs did with the comet. Support our channel by joining as a member today, and we'll give you a shout out in our next video. Or come watch this video next. You won't believe what Karen does in that one.